Hey, everybody. Welcome back. This is we're live, and we've got a special guest star in the house real quick. We haven't seen him in a while. Please introduce yourself for people just coming new to the channel, everything like that.
Yeah, hello, everyone. I am Dan Parry. I'm at Dan Parry on Twitter. I am a maker, builder, educator, friend of Doc Williams, and fan of technology that helps people like us make the world better.
I love it.
Yeah.
Man, these intros, awesome stuff, man. And by the way, I was saying the setup, everything good. Just the vibes are awesome today.
Excellent.
So what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about Web3. We're going to be talking about Dapps. We're going to be talking about all of these things. And to make sure that you're going to get up to speed, you had a lot of questions about terminals, things like that, all those things, especially with Buildspace. So I've got questions for you, but I want to hear first, like, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want, like, the lay of the land? And then we'll go from there. How about that?
Yeah, sure. So the question is, like, what do I want to accomplish? Was that? Yeah.
Yep.
So I recently have changed computer from so I've now got a M1 MacBook Pro, which I got from being able to build and bubble, living life. I decided to get back into learning about Web3, and Buildspace is obviously the place to go to. So I was like, I managed on my first computer to set up everything, environments. I forgot how mental setting up environments are, because I did computer science at university, and then I went into no code like 10 years later, and building stuff in no code is easy. Yep. And then building stuff in code is not easy. Managed to figure it out for my old computer. Did exactly the same steps on my new computer. It's not working.
Okay.
Dress.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about this real quick. So, and let's unpack this a little bit more. What do you want to accomplish when you're doing these projects with Buildspace and everything? I'm going to log in a second, but is there a very specific project you're trying to do in Buildspace, things like that? Tell me what's going on.
Yeah. So the specific project I want to do is the first one, which is like just build the Web3 app on Solidity and Ethereum. Like, if I can, set myself up to be able to complete all. The goal is to, within the next 2 months or so, try and finish all of these off. So the first one that came out was the Solidity and Ethereum one, and that's the project that I want to complete in order for me to collect my NFT. I hope I can collect them if you complete it, and then try and power through, just so I can understand how the world of building stuff works, understand the mechanics of it, understand the how and why and when it should be used. The challenge that I'm facing is just the initial setup. As someone who does not know how to code, there's a leap and a hurdle, which I leapt and hurdled first time, but seemingly my leaping and hurdling skills are not to be desired right now. But ultimately being able to learn all of these things so that I can be as dangerous as I need to be.
Okay, so there's some pros and cons I want to put out. We'll be able to do anything you want, but there are some things that have changed since some of these projects that have come out. So when this first came out, it was always setting up local environments to do anything, right? To be able to mint, to do all those things. There are two very big changes that's happened in the Web3 space. And as you can tell, everything's changing so quickly. We can still do local environments, but this might, I want to give you these two options, pros and cons, and then go from here. Have you messed with anything with Replit? Have you done anything with them? Anything at all?
So I've heard of it, but I've never found a use for it because I don't code. So but this looks much better.
So I'm just telling you this, you don't have to. All of the later projects in Buildspace, they're doing it in Replit. And at the beginning, you couldn't. You had to do a local environment. You couldn't spin it up. Now Replit is like, no, we're going Web3. So now everything that you had to do in the local environment, putting up the terminal, making sure all this stuff, you can just have it in a Replit project and you're good to go.
Excellent. That is exactly what I want to hear. Because this is the thing, like the reason why I like no code so much is I remember when I studied computer science at university and I had to do all kinds of madness just to be able to realize that I can't code. And not even to be able to realize the idea or the thing that I wanted to do. So the fact that this has accelerated all of that is, yeah, perfect. Exactly what I needed. This is why I love you, Doc.
When I saw it in Twitter, I was like, we gotta talk. I was like, okay. Then to me, I mean, I'll show you, and of course, like it's very similar to I've seen like where when some people are like Google Cloud Platform versus they're like, I'm doing it in my local environment, then I'm gonna push it to this. I'm just like, if it's there, I'm gonna just use it. I'm just gonna use it.
100%. Because the reality is as well, it's like I don't really want to do this stuff. Like I want the outcome.
Yeah. So that's number one. That's pretty much the biggest one. You set up your environment. You can, I mean, I can send you my projects. It doesn't matter. But the thing is, you can fork it on Replit. You can do whatever you want. You have a section where you're going to have your files, just like how you had VS Code or anything like that, right? So you see how I have my source files right here, my app .jsx. I have my scripts right here. Then I have public right here, making sure I have my all my images, stuff like that. So all of this stuff is done. Now, if you look at it right here, we have welcome to Build DAO. This is everything done just on Replit. So if I wanted to just pay $5 a month, I can just have this on all the time. I'm good to go. I have my web DApp done from Replit, like done.
And so how difficult is it to transfer the knowledge? Like, because if you don't have the knowledge of like what the npm and mvm and all that kind of magic is doing, how do you transfer it to that knowledge to Replit so I can set up stuff? Because I guess
okay, so we'll talk about that in 1 second. I'm gonna show you one more thing and then exactly what you're talking about. The second thing is that has changed, which I'm basically a huge fan. I wish I could have got in on this. Thirdweb has built these ridiculous SDKs. And so I'm just going to show you how easy, because I don't think people understand how easy this thing is right now. So I'm in my account. I'm just going to go to one of my accounts. I'm just going to say add a module. Do you see that they've already set up all of these components that before in VS Code, you would have to tell the command line or to use Open Zeppelin to do all of these things to write the contracts? They have them all set up in the SDKs right here that I can do it like this. And all I have to do, if I want to use any of these, I already have all of the information right here. Let me just go into a drop real quick. You see how I have owned by? I already have the address. I already have everything that I need. It already creates my address. It already creates all of the things in the contract. And I can actually already put it on the chain right here. It already does all this thing. So I don't even need to use Alchemy or anything like that to send it to a node to get it picked up on the blockchain. It's all done right here with the SDKs.
Okay. I know, because when Thirdweb dropped, I was like, I could tell that it was special. Like as soon as it dropped, and I was like, okay, I need the time to be able to understand why. And yeah, now I'm beginning to, and I really need to spend more time in the Discord, I guess.
and so I'll show you. I'm like, you can do the first project. Might even do the build. I would probably do the DAO one, or I would do the NFT, like the game one versus the very first one, because even their lessons have changed because they've had so much feedback. The first time they did it, it would just be like, oh, here's a concept, go figure it out, or ask somebody. No, now they're like, you can write it out hand by hand or just copy this, because the reality is the errors that you make trying to, it's like 1 comma, or it's this one, or it's a semi. It can drive you insane. So the mechanics are getting so much quicker.
Okay. Just changing my life as usual. So ultimately, are you saying that it's worthwhile picking some of the later courses on Buildspace and then using Replit and the SDKs from Thirdweb to do both the projects and also your own ideas?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Now, I'll put it this way. If you can soldier through this one, everything else seems like this seems like a college course. Everything else feels like it's elementary school. You're like, oh, like why would you bother saying that? Because this, I guarantee, this is the hardest course that I've ever gone through with Web3. Is that necessary? Like, is it just battle scars? I'm like, you don't know what I went through.
You don't know what I went through, man.
You know what I'm saying? Does everyone need that? I don't know, because I think these are fundamentally created better and with the feedback. So this is, I'm going to go through the basics of this, but I'm going to show you like these concepts. You can still bring it if you even want to do local environments. But after you say this, I haven't seen anyone want to do local environments unless they're really skilled at local environments.
Okay. Oof. Yeah. Okay. I'm even more excited than I was to begin with, because I don't want to mess with local environments. Like, I want to just make cool things.
Yeah. And that's exactly right. Now I'm gonna give you one more piece that before we go into this, like we're gonna do it, but like this is how crazy it got. I'm not sure if you saw what I put in the Twitter. I think you saw that I put it with everyone. I was like, just did it with a card site, just did all these things. I'm not sure if you saw that.
I don't know if I saw that. Like
oh, okay. Let me show you this real quick. So this is on a card site.
Oh yeah. Oh, I did.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And then that's Thirdweb. So they already, I'll show you. I already did the whole minting. I did everything through Thirdweb. I didn't have to code a line anymore. And Thirdweb just dropped an article releasing an NFT drop without writing any code. This is brand new, because I was always saying, I think it's possible, but they're like, we just released a no code guide how to do it.
Okay.
So, but again, this is like, I'm always like, components of this can happen with, is this right for you? If you want to do more advanced things, and we'll talk about what's going on in Thirdweb in a little bit, but just giving you some previews. Okay.
So this is why you were asking me, like, actually, what do you want to do? And I got caught up. I got caught up in the detail, and you're like, no, what do you actually want to do? And okay, so yeah, perfect.
Yeah. No worries. So this is like the basics, and you'll see it over and over again in every single project pretty much in Buildspace that you're doing. It first talks about setting up client app, creating membership NFTs, creating your own token, which you can be doing, finishing touches, right? So I'm showing you this as one. We're going to go back to one more pass. We're going to go here. And if you go here,
one day I'm going to see that confetti.
Oh, listen, after this, you're going to just decide which one you want to do, but you could do it. This one's minting your first epic NFT to OpenSea, learning to generate NFTs on chain, set up a web client to mint, finalize and ship. Now let's go back and let's like think about this for a second, where it's talking about minting your first epic NFT on Thirdweb right here. You can do that automatically. So first you need a MetaMask account. You need to either have the test networks already installed, and if they don't, they'll prompt you to add it to your MetaMask. So either you're going to go with Rinkybuy, which is the test network for Ethereum, or Mumbai, which is the test network of Polygon. Now, have you messed with anything called faucets? Have you done anything like that?
No, I've heard of the term, but I was like,
no worries. This is even better, because when you go through Thirdweb, they're actually, before you would have to go find the link, all this stuff. Now it just prompts you, hey, go get this here. And what happens is, you know what, we're just going to do it right now. That's what we're going to do. Okay. So if that's okay with you.
Yeah, 100%, man.
So right here, if I'm right here, I'm like, okay, I need to do a testnet. And it says like best for starting out and testing projects. The reason you want to do testnet is if you go here and you go and write the smart contract, it will take money from you, gas fees, right? So when you, again, because you're putting on blockchain, you're doing it, it's real money. So do everything on the test network, make sure it's exactly how you want it to, then come back over, repeat the process and say, hey, I want to do it with Polygon, Now, Ethereum, that's a level 1. Polygon, Avalanche, those are level 2s.
Okay.
So those are just going to be less gas fees because it's going to be on a level 2 versus Ethereum. We're going to go with Mumbai real quick. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say test new Epic NFT launch with Dan. Okay. We're just going to say this.
Out of interest, is it only after you've been doing Buildspace stuff and Thirdweb stuff that you've been able to recognize when you need the Thirdweb stuff?
That's a great question. That's a good question. So let me ask you that. Well, I'll put it this way. They work hand in hand together.
Okay.
Buildspace will allow you to do the thing with Buildspace is it was built for developers that use local environments first. But they also realize maximizing and speeding things up. Thirdweb is just the thing. I think if you go through the Buildspace and you go with, I'll give you an example, like installing Hardhat, doing all these things. Most people are using PCs, only a few Macs. I have to, once I go through it and I've talked to them, I have to go into VS Code, add another folder in it, then resubmit it, come back. Like, but then I'm doing the same thing if I just use Thirdweb. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, now I will say, now I have a grasp of, I have this, I can open up, change directory, put this in there. I'm like, okay, now I understand it. Before I was like, I'm just typing random commands. So I can think through it, and now I can have a conversation with the developer. I'm like, hey, this isn't working. Is this what happens? And they're like, yes. But then with Thirdweb, they just built all the SDKs, which are software development kits. So they're like, okay, you can do all that, but do you really need to do all that? Do you know what I'm saying? The same way as if I'm using Buildspace, I know how to use Alchemy. I'm not sure if you've seen that. Alchemy is where you can go and let me go real quick. Alchemy.com allows you, once I write my smart contract in my local environment, I have to send it to a node for it to be picked up to the main net. The SDK already does all that stuff for me. So I don't even need to, because before I had to log into Alchemy. I would first, after going through Alchemy, I would then have to do all of these other things. I don't have to do that. Now, is it good to know? Yeah, I guess. But like you were saying, like if I'm trying to build a DAO, like, does it really matter? Not really.
Okay, so from an education standpoint, like how would you approach it knowing what you know now? Obviously that you can't because you'll be biased. Because you've gone through the route that's, but with Thirdweb and Buildspace, is it worthwhile still trying to do all of the later Buildspace courses, and then so that you can understand when to use Thirdweb? Because I guess I still don't know when I need to use Replit.
That's really good. That's really good. So I'll put it this way. Yeah, why not? I would say based on time and what you're looking for, it's similar to like if I'm trying to do, I'll give you a perfect example. If I'm trying to do one of the projects with build your DAO with JavaScript, all you're using is Thirdweb and Replit.
Okay.
You're not touching the local environment at all. If I'm trying to do the create your own NFT game where I have to make, where it mentions like ship your NFT character, that's fine. Ship game logic. I'm doing that in the local environment. But if you could do it in a local environment, it's identical what you do in Replit because it's just in the cloud. It's just in the cloud. I think, to your point, if I didn't know how to do it in a local environment, I would have to know how to be proficient in Replit and watch videos. But it's almost like, again, it's like, for me, like where it says like mini turn-based NFTs, like that doesn't interest me because I don't want to even know the mechanics of that. What I care about is NFTs and DAOs. That's all I care about.
Yep.
So to me, I don't even care about doing this in local environment, setting up the actions, setting up all these things. And I'll give you one other thing too. When you do the NFT collection, I did this one. I'll show it in a second. Minting NFT static. Okay, so I'm going to show you this real quick. This might seem like off the beaten path, but I'll show you the grand difference of like time and energy in a second. Okay. So I'm going into my Notion page real quick. I'll bring it onto that screen in 1 second. I just got to find it. Buildspace. Okay. I'm doing that. Okay. I'm bringing this back over. So these are my notes from Buildspace. NFT collection. Let's do that one. Showing off. I think this is okay. Cool. So this is the reason Ryoga from Ranma 1/2, Ryoga Tabasco Snake. It's taking from an array and it's minting a random NFT for me.
Yeah.
Right. So the way I did it was I had to learn to generate NFTs on chain, do all of this stuff. Right. I had to, these are all the steps. These are all the steps. Like you see what I'm talking about, right? Now, I'm just going to show you in comparison of that versus doing it with this one, NFTinator. Now there's this that's available where I can go in, I can launch my project, and within 20 minutes, look, I can do the traits and I can download all of my NFTs and it auto generates all of them.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, so I've decided that I'm focusing on like on no code Web3 stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the intersection of being able to like understand, because or no code Web3, to be honest.
Yeah.
I feel like it's so interesting that there are all of these new tools coming out so quickly that are really powerful. I'm trying to understand whether it's still beneficial to learn the next layer down in order to be super proficient in the...
That's a really good question. I think for critical thinking, it is for critical thinking, but I'll give you an example. And like, if people are watching this, and I've already talked about this from Builder already, I think Builder could do something with Web3, but they're not even at this point yet. And they promote that they're Web3. I was talking about, and I was like, so the randomizing and what can you do with NFT? And they're like, well, technically it's not random and I had to stack. So I was like, so it's not even what you're saying it's going to be. They're like, not yet. Okay. I wouldn't have known that unless I went through this, because I was like, where's the array that allows you to mint randomized things?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have been able to ask that question if I didn't understand the mechanics of a smart contract.
Yeah. So so that makes sense. So I think that you've helped guide. I'm going to learn both, but I think it's, in order for me to understand, I usually like to be able to ask smart questions or be able to figure out when things aren't going right, understanding like the first principles of things. So it's like, let me understand the mechanics of how things work, plus then also how these tools work. So yeah, okay, but
and so like this one, I'm like, okay, so was it an array to do X, Y, and Z? Well, we didn't have it, but now when I saw this, I was like, oh no, this is what can happen. You don't need to write a code of an array, because if you load these, you load generate, it's auto going to do that for you. So now I don't need to write a code of an array to do it. Now, again, I did something really easy, and like to most programmers are like, Doc, like it's not that big of a deal that you just wrote those random 3 words. Like, but to me, to understand it is.
It is. And it's all relative, right? Like especially when it's not your world, code can feel, and often does feel like a crazy world, where even just to do the simplest things, it requires so much effort, which is why people love no code, which is to actually get the outcome I need is now no effort. Like, you may not be able to get it in a specific way that you need something, but ultimately, depending on your goal, that may not be necessary.
And this is exactly right. And in Thirdweb, if I'm creating this, like I'll go back one, I'll go back here, and it says like add a module. They're like this wasn't here a week ago. Now they have decentralized voting and governance protocol. They didn't have that. So they're seeing the best of what are people doing in Web3, and they're just like, I'm putting the SDK, boom.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, because before, and I'll tell you why, because the other project, Replit, I had to do the logic of voting mechanics because they didn't have the SDK here yet. That's how quick Web3 is moving.
Yep.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, and so that's why I'm like, it depends on the project. Like, that's why I'm like, okay, if you want to launch an NFT project, I wouldn't even go into VS Code and do it. If I was trying to do advanced mechanics, advanced, like my DAO needs very specific things, I would have been like, okay, do this project, do whatever. But even here, voting decentralized, now we're moving with like Olympus DAO. We're moving with like Wonderland. That's what they have, those kind of things. And they're still doing it in Discord. I still got this right here.
And okay. And what about being able to like, because I guess part of my thinking for the future is how do I productize or build a product around certain things? Like, I guess, for example, like token gating, like, I guess you can't do that with this.
You could. Okay. Because so tell me more about that. Tell me what your idea. What do you think?
I'm kind of imagine a blog, for example, where there's free articles or free content, but if you had the particular NFT which you may have been awarded for activity rather than bought, then you would have access to certain content. So you just token gating, like I wouldn't know as a no coder how to even implement that.
That's a really good question. There's even now a play to earn model where you can even in their documentation, I got to find it. You can even do that with based on them watching content and them consuming content, then they get rewarded NFTs or different things you want. So yeah, it's part of the SDK package now.
Okay.
I've got to find it for you. Hold on. But oh, it's there now. Hold on one second. Let me, because the last time we did a session, another guy, let's see, video NFT earning Thirdweb. Hold on one second. Let me see. Hold on one second. On the development gains. I'll have to find it in a second. It's in the documentation, but you can do that. You can do the token mechanics where they can earn based on their engagement with you.
Okay, that's so it's going to be really interesting to try and figure out like how to implement this stuff within like no code and implement it within. So for example, like how would I implement this stuff with a bubble app, for example, like if it's possible? Like
that is okay. So that is the $1 million question. Okay, well, not really. Okay, so there's a couple things that could work. So I mean, I'll put it this way. So once I do something, so again, it depends on the mechanics that you want. Excuse me, but I'll give you an example. We did Atomic Bunnies. We did that, right? We did all of this stuff. Embed, this is all I used. It was in an iframe, and then I just dropped it in a card site. So if I'm in the card site, where's the, this happens when you got way many tabs on this thing. Hold on one second. Hackathon. Okay, so let's I'll give you an example here. Say, for instance, you'll see it in a second. You see how this is because I'm on Mumbai, right? So I'm going to switch test networks real quick. I'm just going to change it to like Phantom. You see how it says switch network? It does all of those things for you automatically because you're literally just dropping it in. Everything's self-contained that Thirdweb did with their SDK. So I mean, I don't see it as long as your, bubble site is you're embedding anything else that could work. I don't see it being a problem adding a component like Thirdweb here. Before, you would have to actually write lines of code, even in Replit, that will say, giving you a warning, hey, not the right wallet, switch over. Thirdweb, because the SDK does it all the way for you. And right here, it tells me to switch network. I just switch, and you see how it switched right there? It told me, hey, it already located my MetaMask. It said, hey, do you want to switch to Mumbai? And it switched it for me. I don't have to code any of that stuff.
Okay, yes, really interesting.
So technically, now the one thing that I still have to figure out, which is the DAO aspect. Once you get an NFT, can I have another page that when they enter, which I think should be theoretical, I don't see it being a problem. When the next page, it will say, I have it, connect wallet. It will check if I have the NFT and will let me into the next part. I'm almost 100%, but if that's there, it's game over. I don't have to code anything again.
Yeah, precisely. Because actually, ultimately, it's the gated access piece, which is the important part. And then whatever they do to earn or get those NFTs is taken care of, so that you can actually focus on the actual. Really interesting.
And again, I'm working on that tonight. I'm 99.99%. It's there. I just haven't done it yet. But if it's that point, because there's one other thing too, which I didn't understand until going through this project. Again, it's the very last Buildspace one when they were doing DAOs. Once the person buys the NFT, you will have their access. And now if I want to airdrop tokens, if I want to airdrop anything, it's a rinse and repeat because it's already on contract. They own that NFT. So now I can reward anyone in this DAO. I can reward this many NFTs or tokens to the people of that DAO. And you can do that all with Thirdweb. You do that all with Thirdweb.
Can you do airdrops with Thirdweb?
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah. All of it's right there. The last, and this is what I'm saying. This is why I keep telling people, I'm like, the last project, the DAO, it will teach you how to do the airdrops too.
And this uses
Replit and in Thirdweb only.
Okay. The Buildspace uses Thirdweb as well.
Yep.
Oh wow. Okay.
And that's why I was like, listen, I'm like, it just keeps getting better. I'm like, it just keeps getting better.
Yeah.
So their entire last project, and that's why I was like, you could do in terminal now, but even their last project didn't do anything in local terminal. It was only in Replit. I'm like, I think that's the way they're going to go.
Yep. Okay. Now I'm excited. I was worried. I was worried that I'd be spending too much time in local, and I'm just like, actually, I'm an outcomes driven person. Like, I've got the idea, or I've got an idea about what I want to do. The quicker I can get that, the more I can realize that it's garbage and move on to the next thing. But if I'm spending time setting up stuff.
Look, and right here, all it's like, what's going on? Go to Replit. Boom. We've already got the project. Just fork the project. So I don't have to worry about making sure my environment's right, making sure that my hard hat's right there, making sure all this stuff, adding to the network. Nope. 1 second, put it on Replit. I've already can fork the project. Then I can modify it from there.
Okay. I am all over this.
One, I'm like, this project is the best of all the parts. I feel like a Buildspace. If you can do this one, I'm going to drop in the chat if you want to join this one. But I'm like, out of all of them, I'm like, you can go back, but I'm like, it's just getting better. Like it makes sense. Like oh man, look, I'm dropping it in the wrong chat. I'm dropping it to everyone there. Let me drop it in private too. It's going all over the place. But there, it's a done deal. It's a done deal. And so again, like if you look at it, before it was setting up your local environments. Now it's like grab the client code and get set up. Add connect a wallet to your DAO. Now where it says connect a wallet, again, this is going to teach you how to do it in the coding in Replit where you're using React. And that's why I was like, do this one first. But after I went through the Thirdweb one of you can do it with no code, I'm like, oh, you don't even need to do it, because in that project they'll tell you from Replit how to call the SDK to use it. So you don't see any branding of Thirdweb in it because you're just calling it.
Okay. Yeah.
Versus here, I'm just embedding, and I'm just like, listen, I don't care if people know or not. Go watch. I don't care. You try to figure out Thirdweb. Like, I'm not about that. But if some people are like, I want this totally custom, I don't want them to know what's under the hood. I'm doing everything through SDKs. I guess you could do it that way too.
Yep. Cool. Okay. I am very excited because now I feel energized to be able to actually do the things that I want to do and learn the things and realize what I don't know and realize what actually interests me. And I know what doesn't interest me is setting up local environments.
I mean, that's just it. I don't know. And I mean, I think it's almost like a reflex. I think so many developers are like, oh, it's so easy.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, because you've done it like 10,000 times.
Yeah. Like, I remember when I was even just reading about it and they were like, oh yeah, like some stuff doesn't quite work on the M1s. And I'm like, oh yeah, because like it's not in the cloud. It's on my local machine, which is a mess because it's like new.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And right here, my bad. You do need Alchemy if you're doing it this version. On SDK, on the SDK and Thirdweb, you don't. But it's a lot easier because all you're doing is adding environment file, and then you're adding this. This is your environment. All you do is environment file, your API equal, you put it in, and you're done. That's the difference.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm excited.
So I'm like, it's not even a thing. I'm like, I understand. I'm like, okay, this is a lot, but I'm like, it's actually more of a thing when you got to do it in VS Code. You've got to do this. You've got errors like for the next 10 years, and you've got all this stuff right here. So I would probably do this one.
Yeah.
Knock it all the way out. Then I would do the no code Thirdweb tutorial. Yeah. And that way you can decide like you'll listen, I feel like, and I mean, I might be exaggerating, but I feel like when Neo gets plugged in and like he knows like that's what this allows you to do, because to me it allows you to cipher through all the BS that's on Twitter with Web3 because so many people say ridiculous buzzwords. If you notice, I don't even engage in Web3 on Twitter because people love to show off, and I'm like, just because you're investing doesn't mean you understand like what it is. And like this liquidity and these I'm like, you don't even know what like the smart contract, you do this contract, you do this course, you'll know what you need to be doing. Like then when I'm sending you about Olympus DAO, you're like, oh, that makes sense. This makes sense. Like do you know anything about Olympus DAO? Have you heard?
No, not really.
Bro. So basically Olympus DAO so I'd never staked before I was in these DAOs before. Basically what's happening is, and this is like a layman's term, so I know somebody might be like, oh, it's actually technical, but this is the basics. The DAO allows everyone to pool their money together to get a discount of something else. And it's a program that is now allowing to either buy or trade other tokens or be able to buy other things at a discount. And by you staking, they're swapping different currencies, and you're saying, I will stake my money here for 5 days, whatever, and you're getting 7% back for 5 days. Now, some people are like, that's not possible. Why would you do that? They're not used to how many times people make transactions with robobots with crypto. 7 or 5 days in crypto is almost like 3 months in the market. So for you to stake for 5 days and they're giving you 7%, they win and you win. And so when you're looking at Olympus DAO, Hector DAO, you are forking the protocol on how they stabilize the market, and they're bringing it to other tokens or other networks. And Olympus DAO allows you to do that. So it's a DAO of you're connecting your wallet, you're saying I'm putting this much in, and then it's the program that's adjusting, not humans. The program's adjusting on the market of what they need to buy. Then the governance, depending on the DAO that you're in and how much money I put in, I can vote on, let's go acquire this thing, and now our liquidity pool now increases in value. That's what Olympus DAO does. And now everyone is doing it on different networks, and that's what I do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am excited.
You got it. You got like you just tell me. But again, I'm like, do this lesson.
Yeah.
Then do the Thirdweb. I guarantee this might take you maybe 4 days at the most. I think you can do this. I did this one in about 18 hours, but I did all the harder ones first, and then I was like, oh, bam, it's fine. I still think give yourself a week or something. Don't like rush through it. You'll still I think the modern projects are what's trending. You could do 90% of anything you wanted to do.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. And one last question that I have is like modifying contracts. I guess that's what I'm
Great question. So Thirdweb lets you modify.
So what do they get out of this?
This is a great question. They just make a percentage of everything that you're doing. Okay. So I view it as, I said it was like the Stripe of Web3. One of my friends was like, it's the Gumroad, but I don't like Gumroad, so I don't like using that too much. But they win when you win. So let's go to the royalties. This is what it is. It's a 5% royalty fee. I think that's pretty... I feel that's fine, reasonable, because guess what? You're maintaining the SDK versus me trying to find Open Zeppelin and contracts to see if this is legit. They're doing everything for me. And security. They're taking on the security risk because they're doing all these things, and they're working with these really heavy hitters to do it. Their interest is security, just like Stripe.
And like your incentives are aligned, so...
They want to give it, that's what I like. I'm like, every week, if you're in their newsletter, they'll tell me every week what they're building. Like, they're like, guess what? DAOs are big. Guess what? That's why they built the voting, because they're like, we got to keep up.
Yeah. Okay.
It's made up. It just makes sense, I feel like.
Yeah. I am. Yeah.
100%. And also, you'll see the different contracts, right? So if you're looking at the ERC 20, whatever you want, it will tell you which ones that they're using for how they're dropping different things. So they're not trying to be like, oh, we created. No, it's based off of this protocol. It's based on this smart contract. So the question you said, what if you need to change the contract? If I need to do something, it asks me to pay whatever the smart contract change is. From the image, I had to change an image because I'm like, oh, the image, the collection image was different. Gas fees. So I would say for most people, that's why it's even more important to build on a test network. But even when you're getting close to, I want to do Ethereum versus I want to do Polygon, I would even ask like, but how much money do you have to invest in that project? Because yes, you're not paying the mint. The person is paying the mint every time. For even to put contract on chain, that still costs money. Do you have a couple $100? Because guess what? What if something doesn't work and you have to put it on chain again? Depends on what, if you really screw up and you got to do it ASAP. What if the market is full and someone just dropped to 10,000? You might have to, your gas fees might be a couple K. Easy. Just something to think about.
Yeah. I really can't wait for the change to happen to
Listen, bro, I understand, like, but to me, I like, and I hope Ethereum changes it. I'm just like, until then, other networks. I'll go either layer 2 or I'll just do Solana. Now they're going to add Solana coming up on this one too. But yeah, that's like for like this new idea that I'm having. I think I'm going to create a build DAO, but I might do the NFT either really, really cheap or on a different network. So that way the value is me getting them in the DAO and then I'm making more, you know, that's more important than me trying to think about the secondary market of the NFT, because I don't want to play the game of trying to get the hype around the NFT collection. And I'm worried about OpenSea in the secondary market. I'm just not trying to play that game.
I think, that's what I'm not really interested in, like outside of learning about it. I'm not interested in that kind of mechanics, and like I want to understand how to utilize Web3 to actually build super useful things for people, businesses, communities, charities, like that kind of thing. So
It might even make sense to do it on an NFT on Polygon then, because it would be a lot less for gas fees. They're familiar because at least they know Ethereum, and now it's a level 2 of Ethereum versus if you do Solana, they're going to probably need a different wallet.
Yeah. One question that I have is when proof of work, which is proof of work, when the new Ethereum comes out, like what are all of these layer 2s going to do? Because surely then
it's a good question. You know what, that's kind of, I think that's why everyone's kind of, this was the Wild West, man. No one knows.
No one knows any, and that's why I love it. It's chaos.
I honestly, I think some of them are just like, to me though, Ethereum's been talking about it for almost a year plus, year and a half. Could it work? But think about it too. Even when you go that route, there's still probably going to be a lot of incentive for level 2s, especially if you're doing crypto gaming and you're doing thousands, if not millions of transactions, and you're not trying to play this game on level 1s anyway.
Yeah.
You're just never going to do it. So I think there's still going to be a place. Now the question is, what's the price going to do for Polygon and everything like that? Might drastically change based on those things. But that, listen, they got to deal with it because they decided to build it on knowing that they were going to be a level 2 of that network.
Yes. Yeah.
Versus Solana, their transactions, they're just like, you can build on level 1 all day and it's still going to be faster than anything on, it will be comparable to anything on level 2 or other than that.
Yeah. It is the Wild West. It's the Wild West. It's like it's like 97 internet, 97, 98. Like we still haven't even seen like what the iPhone of Web3 is going to be. Like we haven't seen.
And there's a guy that I really like. I had him on the show, and he was like, "Listen, it's like when apps first came out in the store. And remember when there used to be lighter apps, which I totally forgot.
Beer apps. Remember there was one that you could just drink beer. There was one app that was like the most expensive app, which was like $999, and like it didn't do anything. Like that's where we are.
And that's So what will it look like in 5 years? I don't even think there's even a point of reference of what's going to happen. People are trying, like you saw, like that Wolf game, and people are trying to figure out these really basic mechanics. I think the fundamentals and the mechanics are still going to be sound for going forward of what needs to happen. But all of these projects, I just don't think we even have an idea of the implementation. I do like the Spotify version on Solana, where it is basically SoundCloud, but on top of Solana.
Oh, wow.
And that is for a lot of EDM and a lot of artists are already doing that because they own everything. They get straight royalties. They don't even need a label to collect royalties. That's the whole reason you're signing a label, to not deal with that. I'm like, and I can say, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but if I'll bring it up in a second, most people, like, you don't even need to know that it's on Solana. You know what I'm saying? Like it looks like, it feels like SoundCloud. And I think things where they're not saying it's Web3, you are just in it and you don't even know you're in it. That is what is going to be the future of what this new
that's exactly what I think. It's like at some point it's just going to seep into society. Like when the difference between like Web 1 and Web 2, like no one was talking about Web 2 outside of tech people. Just Web 2 products came out. Oh, it's the audience. Oh, I didn't know that it was on Solana.
Yep, that's all Solana.
Yeah, that is
Like, and most people like, okay, learn about the token, like, but you can just sign up. Look, it looks just like no one would know. But the reason all of their here is because you're getting paid directly on the chain. That's it.
Yeah. See, I'm excited because I want to be able to like build products using Web3 tech, but not focusing on the Web3 piece, but using it to, again, like, because the fact that obviously musicians have been stung with this streaming model that we've had where they get paid nothing. And it's like, okay, actually, how do you use no code in Web3 to be able to build things like this?
I mean, hypothetically, this is just me, but hypothetically, again, the mobile aspect of having the wallet has to get better, I feel like. But having NFT tickets for events, listen, the Mavs, which are the NBA, they're already going to be thinking about doing NFTs for tickets. And the reason why is then they can control the secondary market. When people resell them, they make a cut of the secondary market. But even if I'm a comedian or an artist, I could say, get this NFT, do whatever, and then when you're in the Discord, bring the link to the concert, and that's how you're getting in. Now, could there still be scammers? Yes. But if I wanted to control the gate, I can control the gate now.
And then also there's the whole thing of like, you can actually tell a story like, oh, so you've been a fan from day, like literally you've been a fan from day. I'm going to reward you with exclusive tickets to this thing. Like,
and you can airdrop, you can do anything.
It's on the chain.
Yeah. You
And
could do that all with that because you have everything in the protocol. You have everything in the protocol.
I think it's the way forward to, and also it helps with the whole 1,000 true fans thing, 100 true fans. Like, I don't need millions of people to stream my stuff in order for me to make a okay living. Like, I just need a few people who really care about my thing. So actually, the likelihood is that creativity will probably rise because you'll get people who don't have to conform to the standards of what everything is in order for them to eat. They can just make weird tribal.
Why not?
Garage hip hop.
Yeah. You can do whatever you want.
Just do whatever you want and just be like, oh man, like I ate well today.
I'm telling you, could do. Listen, you got that. You've got your fans, and then if they don't want to be part of the tribe and they want to flip it, guess what? It's even more valuable to you, and you still are eating better later on.
Yeah, precisely.
I just think it's going to be, again, I think, and this is one other thing I was going to say, especially, and I'm going to do an episode about this. The people have to understand, though, it's got to be something where you have to educate your audience and prepare for the onboarding process versus I don't think, and you've seen it with like T-Pain and a few others, they're just like, my NFT, like drop, go get it. And then some people are like, what does it stand for? So like, because you were trying to go on hype and you're like, I can drop anything. It's just the conversion rate. I think people don't study Gary enough. Gary did a 5-month campaign to educate his audience
on what NFTs were and the value of them. He did.
And all of the content, how to create a MetaMask, because he knew he was going to drop it.
Yeah.
Then he did all of his calls with all the people that spent over 10K with him and said, listen, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. By the way, I'm going to make you money. I'm taking 15%, but I'm going to make you money. Education versus influencers. They're just like, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. The conversion. Oh, I've got to show you one last thing. I'm doing a whole thing on this and then I'll stop. After this. I saw this drop on, I'm like, I don't know why people aren't talking about this more. It's ambitious. It's still in beta. Glip for gamers. You click F4 and then it makes the last 30 seconds an NFT and it drops in your chat.
Oh, wow. That is.
And then they just do an auction, 15-minute auction, buy it right off.
Yeah.
Then you can also give them access, and it basically makes a DAO for you because once you have the NFT, it gives you access to an exclusive Discord channel of your choosing. But this is the thing where I'm like, this makes sense with the mechanics of an audience that you're going after. It has to be this simple.
Yes. And this is the thing, like, we're now beginning to see weird things that you would never have thought about before. Where it's like, it's not just the skeuomorphic stuff, which is like tickets or like we're going to see, I can't wait to see just weird stuff that will eventually become the next version of the internet.
I think it's going to be just like NFTs. I think it's going to be artists wanting to reward people with whatever they want and figuring out the mechanics. I think it's going to be very like archaic or going to be like, oh, that doesn't really work, but it's going to push everything forward, just like you were saying. I don't think you'll need like a Glip that, it's good that Glip is there, but I don't think it's going to need to be this sophisticated to capture it. I think this is really smart because you have a VC backing and you know you're doing a market analysis. Esports is this plus this. They're already on their keyboards. The likelihood of the adoption of Web3 is higher. We can make money. But yeah, I think I think these tribes are going to pop up and it's going to be crazy, dude. Things are going to be crazy.
Ooh, yeah. So yeah, this was excellent as usual.
Yeah. Okay. Stay on. We're going to end real quick. By the way, tell the good people where they can follow you, all that stuff.
Yeah. You can follow me on Twitter, predominantly where I do my best work, which is at Yodan Parry. And then building something new, as the people say, and figuring that out and coming soon. But yeah,
good times. Okay, go watch him. We'll have Dan on the show. Let's see what's going on with his DAO, and we'll see you all next time.
Dan DAO sounds good.
That's where we did end it. That's great.
Yeah, excellent.